Nixtamalization, the ancient secret behind every tortilla. Every day, millions of people across Mexico and Latin America sit down to a meal that begins the same way it has for over 3,000 years, a warm tortilla, fresh off the griddle. It seems so simple, so ordinary, but behind that humble tortilla lies one of the most important scientific discoveries in all of human history, a process so powerful it literally made civilization possible. It's called nixtamalization, and if you've never heard of it, you're about to change the way you see food forever. The sacred grain. To understand nixtamalization, we have to start with the grain at its center, corn, or maize as it's known scientifically. For the ancient peoples of Mesoamerica, the Maya, the Aztecs, the Olmecs, corn wasn't just a food, it was everything. The Popol Vuh, the sacred book of the Maya, tells us that humanity itself was formed from corn. This wasn't mythology for mythology's sake. This was a reflection of reality. These civilizations were built on maize. Their agriculture, their economy, their spirituality, all of it revolved around this one grain. But here's the thing. Raw corn on its own has a major flaw, a flaw that could have held back entire civilizations. And the solution? It was hiding in a pot of water and lime. The problem with raw corn. Here's the science, and don't worry, we're keeping it simple. Corn is rich in a vitamin called niacin, also known as vitamin B3. Niacin is essential for your body to function. Without it, you develop a devastating disease called pellagra, cracked skin, dementia, and eventually death. The problem? In raw corn, that niacin is chemically locked inside the kernel. Your digestive system simply cannot access it. The corn looks nutritious, but your body can't absorb what it needs. Proteins in raw corn are similarly trapped, bound in a form that's hard for the human body to use. For cultures that relied on corn as their staple food without knowing this, the consequences were catastrophic. When corn spread to Europe in the 1500s and people ate it without treatment, pellagra outbreaks swept through entire regions, killing thousands. But in Mesoamerica, pellagra was virtually unknown, because they had figured something out 3,000 years earlier. The process. Let's talk about what nixtamalization actually is. The word comes from the Nahuatl language, the language of the Aztecs. It combines two words, nextli, meaning lime or ash, and tamale, meaning corn dough. Lime-treated dough. That's the essence of it. Step 1. Dried corn kernels are placed in water and mixed with calcium hydroxide or food-grade lime. This alkaline solution begins to soften the tough outer hull of each kernel. Step 2. The mixture is brought to a simmer, then removed from heat and left to soak overnight. This is where the chemistry happens. The alkaline water penetrates the kernel, breaking down the molecular bonds that trap the niacin and proteins. It releases them. It sets them free. Step 3. The next morning, the corn, now called nixtamal, is drained and washed to remove the excess lime and the loosened outer skin, called the pericarp. What's left is a transformed grain, softer, more aromatic, nutritionally unlocked. And when ground, it produces a smooth, pliable dough called masa, the foundation of tortillas, tamales, and dozens of other foods. Without nixtamalization, masa crumbles. The starch structure hasn't changed. The texture is wrong. The nutrition isn't there. With nixtamalization, you get everything. Why it changed everything. Think about what this discovery meant in practical terms. A population that eats nixtamalized corn gets dramatically more nutrition than one that doesn't. They get unlocked niacin, more usable protein, and, this is a bonus, a significant boost of calcium from the lime itself. Healthier people, better fed children, more energy for farming, building, thinking, creating. You get a feedback loop of development. Many historians and anthropologists believe this is one of the key reasons why Mesoamerica became such a hotbed of complex civilization. The Maya built cities and developed writing. The Aztecs created one of the largest empires in the pre-Columbian world. The Milpa agricultural system, where corn, beans, and squash are grown together, became one of the most sustainable food systems ever devised. And running through all of it, quietly and powerfully, nixtamalized corn. This knowledge was passed down generation after generation, from grandmothers to mothers to daughters, an oral and practical tradition spanning 3 millennia. Alive today. Here's what makes this story even more remarkable. It never stopped. Right now, today, in millions of homes and neighborhood tortillerias across Mexico and Central America, people are doing exactly the same thing their ancestors did 3,000 years ago. The same lime, the same corn, the same process. In 2010, UNESCO recognized Mexico's traditional cuisine as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity, specifically calling out the role of nixtamalized corn as its irreplaceable foundation. In a world dominated by ultra-processed food, nixtamalization is quietly having a moment. Chefs, nutritionists, and food scientists are rediscovering what indigenous communities never forgot, that this ancient process produces a food that is more nutritious, more flavorful, and more sustainable than almost anything modern industry has invented. A freshly made corn tortilla from nixtamalized masa, with its earthy aroma, its slightly chewy texture, that hint of mineral depth, is not just delicious, it is a 3,000-year-old answer to the question of how to feed a civilization. So, the next time you sit down to a taco, a tamale, or a warm tortilla fresh off the griddle, take a second. Think about the hands that developed this process, ancient cooks and farmers who experimented with ash and water and corn and accidentally unlocked one of food history's greatest secrets. Think about the civilizations that rose on the strength of this single technique. And think about the grandmothers right now passing this knowledge to the next generation, making sure it survives another 3,000 years. That tortilla in your hand, it's not just food, it's history.